Okay, today we're going to dive into the history of just one single famous phrase. But what a phrase! It somehow connects the worlds of Texas sports, Southern church choirs, and even German opera. So, how on earth are those things all linked? Let's find out. Right. Our story really kicks off with a mystery that's kind of hiding in plain sight. It's inside a phrase we've all probably heard, maybe even said. But who is this woman, and why is her song the absolute final word on, well, everything? You know this one, right? It's a total classic. It's that go-to warning against celebrating too early, a huge staple in sports commentary, and even in movies. It just feels like it's been around forever. Well, the answer is way more complicated and honestly a lot more interesting than you'd probably think. It involves a case of mistaken identity, a forgotten old proverb, and, believe it or not, a fiery, world-ending apocalypse. So first things first, let's get the biggest myth out of the way. A lot of people think this phrase came from the legendary baseball catcher Yogi Berra, who was famous for his witty one-liners. But nope. While he did give us the absolute classic, "It ain't over till it's over," the whole fat lady part, that wasn't him. To find the real source, we've actually got to travel back to the mid-1970s, right into the super high-stakes world of Texas college basketball. This is where the phrase we all know today was really born. And what's really amazing is just how fast this phrase took off. I mean, in just a little over 2 years, it went from a one-off comment in a newspaper to this defiant rallying cry on TV. And then, get this, to the unofficial slogan of an NBA championship team. And here it is. This is the first time we see it written down. It happened during a total nail-biter of a basketball game. One team starts making this surprising comeback, and the sports information director for Texas Tech, Ralph Carpenter, just casually says this line to a reporter next to him. It was just this perfect, funny way to capture the crazy tension of that moment. And this is exactly how the phrase caught fire. Fast forward to the 1978 NBA playoffs. Sports writer Dan Cook uses it on TV to pump up the underdog San Antonio Spurs fans. But then the coach of the other team, Dick Motta, hears it and basically hijacks it. He starts using it as a motivational tool for his own team, the Washington Bullets, who then went on to win the whole championship. But wait, the story doesn't actually start in a sports arena. It turns out that whole opera version was really just a clever twist on an even older saying from the American South. That's right, the original proverb had nothing to do with theater or drama. It was all about knowing when a Sunday church service was really over. So you can see this simple but brilliant switch they made. The original saying, "Church ain't out till the fat lady sings," was a reference to the final hymn of the service. By just swapping out church for opera, these sports writers made the phrase sound way more dramatic, way more epic, perfect for a high-stakes game. Okay, so this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. If the phrase is talking about an opera, well, which opera? And who exactly is this fat lady? The answer, it turns out, lies with the composer Richard Wagner. The figure at the absolute heart of this whole thing is Brunhilde. She's the heroine of Wagner's gigantic four-opera ring cycle. Her story finally wraps up in the last opera, Götterdämmerung, which means Twilight of the Gods. And her performance is, well, it's the very definition of a grand finale. And you can see here, it's not just a clever saying. In the opera, it is literally not over until Brunhilde sings her final song. Her massive 20-minute aria is what actually kicks off the destruction of the entire world of the gods. When she's done singing, everything ends. For real. Of course, when we think of an opera singing Valkyrie, a very specific image pops into our heads, right? And we can mostly thank pop culture for that. But that famous horned helmet, that's actually another bit of historical mix-up. Yeah, the original costume designer for the premiere back in 1876 actually gave Brunhilde a helmet with wings, not horns. The horns were for a male villain. But over time, and with a whole lot of help from cartoons, those two designs just kind of merged together in our collective memory, creating that iconic but totally inaccurate image we all know today. So now we jump to the 21st century, where the journey of this phrase takes another interesting turn. What used to be a funny, harmless cliche is now being looked at through a much more modern lens, and it's raising some tough questions about body image and respect in the arts. A really big moment happened in 2014. An Irish mezzo-soprano named Tara Eroth gave this incredible vocal performance that was getting rave reviews. But several major newspapers focused their reviews almost entirely on her physical appearance, using some really harsh and frankly insulting language. The public backlash was immediate and huge. This whole controversy really showed that the stereotype baked into this phrase isn't always just a harmless joke. It points to a real-world bias that can seriously impact the careers of incredibly talented performers, basically reducing their art to a conversation about their body type. And so, there you have it. A single phrase that has traveled all the way from a church, to a stadium, to an opera stage, and now, right into the middle of a complex cultural debate. It's a journey that shows just how much history, art, and controversy can be packed into just a few simple words. The real question now is, what does its future hold?